everybody, this is Modern Refugee. I am at Dow Chemical here in Midland, Michigan, and I came here to do a video to talk a little bit about evacuations. You know, bugging out and evacuations are something that YouTube preppers talk about all the time, but I think a lot of it is more hypothetical situations where here there is a really good logical reason why you would need to practice an evacuation if you lived in this area, because if there was some type of industrial incident that took place here, it would be no different than if there was a wildfire or an earthquake, more natural things. Here it could be a man-made reason why you would need to evacuate. And the thing with evacuation is, you know, people always talk about having maps and compasses and stuff, but maps aren't the terrain. Maps aren't the physical area where you want to get out of. Things change, maps can be wrong, there can be different problems with different routes coming into or going out of places, and that's why I wanted to use Midland here as an example of having multiple different areas and multiple different ways to evac and egress out of an area. Now there's several different ways to come into Midland. There's a lot of back ways that come in. There's a limited access highway, US 10, that goes through Midland where there's different exits and stuff, but there can be things like construction, there could be traffic backups, there could be a lot of different things that could go wrong. If you're just looking at a map saying, hey, we're going to take US 10 to get out of Midland, there could be a lot of problems with that. And you need to get and go into the areas where you think you might have to evacuate, and you need to look at that face to face. You need to be on the streets, on the ground, know the lay of the land, and you're not going to be able to do that unless you actually physically do it. So I'm using Midland here as an example. I'm going to take you back to the garage and I'm going to show you some different ways where you can plan on a map, but you always need to physically verify by driving, taking a day off, and checking out the area to see if your evacuation routes are actually going to be viable if something does happen. Anyway, you guys stick around. Hey guys, we are back home now, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes to show you guys a map of where we are at there in Midland by the Dow Chemical facility, and show you some of the potential problems and obstacles that are in that area. A couple things that I want to mention. One is maps are good, having a compass, that's all good to have that stuff, but there's been lots of times where I have found a map was wrong, a map was incorrect, it did not match the actual terrain that I was going through. Things change, roads change, terrain changes, and that's another reason why if you're evacuating on a specific route or you think you want to go in this particular direction, if something is going on, you have to constantly maintain your intelligence, I guess, of that area. And another thing is you could be evacuating an area that has a problem, but you might be going through an area that's having a different problem. And Midland is one of those good examples. You have Dow Chemical there. You have a major limited access highway going through there, US 10. It's a major east-west thoroughfare in the central part of the lower peninsula of Michigan. There's multiple towns that lay along US 10. So you could be evacuating out of an area that's got a problem, and you can drive unwillingly or unknowingly drive into another area that's having a problem. So you need to have multiple ways to get out of an area, and you need to have some type of intelligence, and you need to know what's going on in other areas that you are potentially driving through. And this isn't just for a zombie apocalypse, it's for, you know, real world things. Look at that train derailment that happened in Ohio. You know, I bet you those people that live there, in hindsight, wish they would have took a day off or 2 days off of work and looked at how do I evacuate this particular area if something goes wrong. One of the reasons that I picked Midland is Midland's got so much stuff going on, and you guys will see it here when I turn the camera around and show you on the map. All right, guys, here is a pretty detailed map of Midland, Michigan, and this is actually out of a Delorme atlas. Delormes are my favorite atlases when it comes to maps. They are probably the most accurate, although I have seen problems with these, like I have told you guys before. But this is Midland, Michigan, and you can see here there is US 10. That is the major thoroughfare, and this way is west and this way is east. And we were actually standing about in this area right here is where the major Dow chemical facility is. But you can see there is the confluence of the Tittabawassee and the Chippewa River that happens right in downtown Midland. So to the southwest of Midland, there is a significant water obstacle that if these bridges were down, and that's another reason why I always say bridges are a problem when it comes to, you know, getting out of Dodge. So that there isn't a lot of places where you can cross those rivers to the southwest to get out of there. Now, there are multiple roads that go to the east that are available for potential evacuation out of this area, as well as ways to the north. But you can see here to the north, there's a lot of wild areas, and you can see here by the map, these are all swampy areas. These are not areas where you would want to, you know, take a bike through or hike through. There is nothing but problems right there. So it limits your ability to evacuate out of an area like this. And there's another major intersection here. This is actually Eastman Road, Eastman Avenue. And again, this hooks into the business route of US 10, and it goes north out of Midland. And this is, if I would need to evacuate out of Midland, this is one of the major roads that I would take, because it gives you different opportunities. You can go both north, and once you get out of town, you could go west, or you could go east on these secondary roads. Secondary roads are your friend if you want to get out of an area. US 10 is notoriously bad for traffic. There's a lot of big interchanges here where you got a lot of people trying to get on and get off of that highway. So, and it's also known for construction, and it is really not a desirable way that I would want to evacuate if I would want to get out of Midland. But as you can see here, that is some of the things that you have to take into account when you're planning an evacuation or an evacuation route. You need to know the lay of the land, and there are different places, different towns, cities and stuff in Michigan where we have taken pretty significant amounts of time to plan our ways out of this area in case we had to evacuate for whatever reason, or we had get caught in another area. You know, that is another thing that you don't hear a lot of people talk about too. What if you go to a big city because you got a medical problem? And I always go back to this medical aspect of preparedness. You go to a large city where there's a large medical center, because, you know, you have an appointment with a specialist or something like that, and then something happens, whether it's some type of cyber attack, some type of physical altercation that takes place, and now you got to figure your way out of these areas. And that's why I always take time to plan ways in and out of these potential problem areas, because you never know when you might find yourself in these areas. I know a lot of people, a lot of preppers don't like traveling, but in reality, sometimes you have to travel to these areas either for family members, medical appointments. There's just a bunch of different reasons why you could find yourself in a less than optimal area, and why it pays to look ahead to these different potential problems, and then come up with plans to get out of these areas if it's necessary. But anyway, I just wanted to share this with you here and talk a little bit about evacuations and how I look at the different areas, and kind of how I keep up on the changes of the terrain, how I use maps to kind of lay a groundwork, but then I take it a step further and I go out and I actually look at the land and basically do reconnaissance and intel on what possibly could happen if I was caught in these areas. Anyway, this is Modern Refugee. Appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys got a little information and a little entertainment out of this video here, as always. Always trying to give you guys something to think about. You guys have a good one.